Now, you're probably wondering, when do you speak? Well, you're going to look out at my imitation of Van White. When you see your number, that's when you know you're supposed to talk. All right? Thank you all for participating tonight, because the program only goes so well as the participants. But you're all going to participate tonight. You're all going to vote. Yay or nay. You're going to vote on the articles that are brought forward to you. You're going to listen to the arguments that the men had, and you're going to be part of the 5th Virginia Convention. Now, on January 10th of 1776, an anonymously published pamphlet was circulated in Philadelphia. This pamphlet would be known as Common Sense, and was found to be written by Thomas Paine. In its opening paragraph, it says, "The cause of America is in great measure the cause of all mankind. Many circumstances have and will arise which are not local but universal." He goes on to state his objections to the monarchy and the general state of affairs in his beleaguered colonies. His words, reflections, and this pamphlet started to be passed around to some of the greatest minds in the colonies. Taking this work, Common Sense, and the works of other philosophers, men, and one woman from Massachusetts, started forming their own words and providing fuel for the revolutionary ideas against the mother country. By May 1776, it was quite evident, with Lord Dunmore leaving Virginia and the war starting in Massachusetts, that reconciliation with the king was not going to happen. So on May 15th, the men gathered at the 5th Virginia Convention. They decided unanimously to declare independence from Great Britain. One representative, former Treasurer Robert Carter Nicholas, was known to say he would rise or fall with his country. The final sentence in the Virginia Resolves for Independence was written, "Resolved, unanimously, that a committee be appointed to prepare a Declaration of Rights, and such a plan of government as will be most likely to maintain peace and order in the colony and secure substantial and equal liberties to the people. You are now a part of that committee to put together the Virginia Declaration of Rights. What are those rights given to you by God that your new government is obligated to protect? You've read Common Sense. Has it influenced your ideals at all? Well, George Mason has been working on drafts to frame the Declaration of Rights that you will vote on today. The chairman of the committee, Colonel Archibald Carey. He'll want your votes. But let's first hear what Mr. Mason has put together. Mr. Mason.
Friends, I always think it's much easier to have a committee meeting when the committee shows up. Of course, maybe not. I just wrote a letter to Richard Henry Lee, who's still in Philadelphia. I said we've begun the most difficult task of all, forming a new government. We formed a committee to determine what the natural rights of our citizens shall be. I told Mr. Lee, you know the way our committees are. Giants, a group of useless men overburdened with their own sense of importance. No, I'm talking about you all. I've been thinking very, very hard about how we've got to this point. We've declared independence almost a month ago now. May 15th, 76, we declared our independence. Virginia, just Virginia. How did we get here? I have to think it had to start about the time of the French and Indian War. I'm sure many of you gentlemen fought in that, just like most men did. Of course, we won. We were still British colonies. We're very appreciative of that. We very much appreciate the rights and privileges we have as natural British subjects. But you remember Governor Dinwiddie, he said, if you will join in the militia and go fight the French, I'll give you land out in the Ohio Territory. We'd like land. Most land around here is already taken up. I'd like to get some free land. All I have to do is survive the war. So you survive the war. 1763, they signed the Treaty of Paris, and the king draws a line right down the mountains and says, that's the proclamation line. You can't go west of that. Where's Ohio? West of the line. So the governor, out of the goodness of his heart, gave you free land, and the king says you can't go possess it. Does that make you angry? Of course it did. Of course, we also know wars are terribly expensive. We in Virginia, we in the lower house, we thought it would only be appropriate. Virginia should pay its part of the war debt. We don't want to pay everybody's part, just our part. So as the lower house, we levy a special tax. We spread the tax out over 2 years. We don't want to overburden the population. The money we collected, we sent that to Parliament as Virginia's share of the war debt. The bad thing we shouldn't have done. The Parliament thought, that is brilliant. Maybe the colonies should pay for all of the war. So in 1764, they raised the Sugar Act. Now, yes, it didn't replace the old Molasses Act of 1733, but it put new taxes on things like coffee and tea. This was wine. I know. Refined sugar. That's not all. Anybody remember 1765, the Stamp Act went into effect? Yeah. What was that a tax on? One thing. Paper. Anything made of paper. Now, we as Americans, we're British Americans, but we're Americans nonetheless. We do one thing better than everyone else in the world. What do we do? You do it. I know I do it. My wife says I do it all the time. What do? Complain, exactly. We are very, very good at it. We send letter after letter after letter to the Parliament, both houses of Parliament, to the King, complaining about, well, we call them taxes. Parliament doesn't call them taxes, they call them duties. or tariffs, that's another good one. You can't fool us, what are they? They're taxes. The British Constitution says the men that are elected by the people may tax the people. How many men do we elect to Parliament? None. Therefore, since we don't have any representation, they cannot tax us. Make sense?
Right, no taxation without representation. Yeah.
No representation, therefore no taxation. Makes sense? That's why Parliament calls them things other than taxes. We complain. They eventually rescind the Stamp Act. 6 months later they rescind it. Shortest lived act in parliamentary history. But at the same time they rescind the Stamp Act, they enforce the Declaratory Act. They always trade one for another, I've noticed. The Declaratory Act said Parliament not only has the ability, but the right to make laws and taxes concerning the colonies. Just a little twist of the knife in your back. To continue on, taxes come and go. You might remember the coercive acts, Townsend duties, all these different acts come along. In 1770, big problem in Boston. Boston Massacre happens. 5 colonists are laying dead at the hands of British soldiers. That's when the Townsend duties are rescinded right after that, except for one. There's one tax they leave in place. What is it, a tax on? Tea. They eventually followed that up with another Tea Act. That gets going up in arms again. Again in Boston, 1773, something important happens again. What is it? Call it a party, but that's a party. It's men dressed like Indians, they'll never figure that out. They go on board some ships, they destroy hundreds and hundreds of cases of tea. It's worth thousands and thousands of pounds sterling. And the tea doesn't belong to the government. Who does it belong to? Some poor merchant who's importing it. Or merchants, perhaps. Can they take a loss of thousands and thousands of pounds? No. No, we're not here in Virginia. We're thinking, you know what? If you try that here in Virginia, you know what we'll do? We will find out who you are. Whether you dress like Indians or not, we'll find out who you are. We'll put you in the public jail and try you for a felony crime so fast your head's going to spin. But that's not what Parliament did. Parliament did not go out and find out who it was. What did Parliament do instead? They fined everyone in Boston. Someone's got to pay these men back for the tea they lost. You think the government's going to do it? Goodness, no. They fine everyone in Boston. Don't care whether you were involved or not. Everyone pays part of the fine. They put the Boston Port Bill in effect. June 1st of 1774, Boston Harbor is closed. Nothing comes in, nothing goes out. Think of all the merchants in Boston who send goods all over Massachusetts. They're not going to be able to get anything. Think of the fishermen that base themselves out of Boston Harbor. They can't ply their livelihood either. It's not just hurting Boston, it's hurting all of Massachusetts. Now again, down here in Virginia, we think, you know what? They're probably getting what they deserve. But, there's always a big pregnant pause there. But, if Parliament is allowed to close Boston Harbor, what's to stop them from closing Philadelphia? Or Baltimore? Or the Outer Banks? Or Savannah or Charleston? Or Chesapeake Bay? That concerns us. That's our livelihood. So we decide in the lower house, we need to show our support, not for what those people in Boston did, but we have to show our support for them because we disagree with what Parliament did. So we decide, on May 24th of 74, we're going to host a day of prayer and fasting and humiliation before God. On June 1st, the day the Port Bill goes into effect. It's just for us in the lower house. We're going to make a big show of it, though. We're going to gather at the Capitol building. We're going to parade right down Duke of Gloucester Street to Bruton Parish Church and go in. And I'm sure Reverend Bracken will have a nice flowery sermon for us. Then we're going to get down on our knees and pray for those people of Boston. Who's going to get upset with prayers? Well, Lord Dunmore did. Remember, our established church in Virginia is Church of England. Who's the head of the Church of England? The king. Of course, the king is not in Virginia. Who's the king's representative in Virginia? The governor. Lord Dunmore thinks about it. He cannot let Virginians show support for the people of Boston. The king hears about it. Lord Dunmore might not be governor anymore. So on the 26th, he calls us to attend him. Remember, the governor's office is on the second floor above the general court. We're not allowed to go in the room because we're the lower house. We all squeeze, all 126 of us squeeze into the hallway outside the door. And the governor proceeds to read us a list of all his grievances against us. How we have failed him, failed the people. And he finishes by telling us, and you are dissolved accordingly. What's that mean? You're fired. Leave my building. You can't work here anymore. We don't leave. We leave the building, but we don't leave town. Most of us go down the next day to the Raleigh Tavern. Largest room in town you can rent, the Apollo room. Start talking about the problems we're having in Virginia. We decide we're going to make our own agreement, the non-import, non-export. We're not going to import British goods. We're not going to export anything to Great Britain. Many of the men in the lower house, the House of Commons, they've got business interests over here. How do you get someone to pay attention to you in government? Get them in the wallet. Once they start sucking a little bit, they'll start paying attention. So June 1st, we decided also that we need to call for a Congress of all the colonies. Get men from all the colonies together. We'll talk about what's been going on in everybody's colonies. See what we can do. We meet later that year in September and early October of '74. We agree that we'll meet again early '75. But before most of us can get to Congress, again, something happens in Massachusetts. April 19th of '75. What is it? Battles of Concord and Lexington. Shooting war begins. Blood is spilled on both sides. We don't know about it yet, but 2 days later, 21st of April, Lord Dunmore has some Marines come into the magazine overnight. He gives them the key. They're not breaking in. They've got the key. The guard in the guardhouse sees that they've got the key. Well, they're not breaking in. They must know what they're doing. Start taking the gunpowder out. He says that he had heard there was going to be a slave insurrection. Don't want the slaves to get gunpowder to shoot us or blow us up. We hadn't heard anything about that. We didn't believe him. Finally, calmer heads prevailed. There's an armed mob gathering between the magazine and the courthouse. Peyton Randolph, the Speaker of the House, he's back from Congress because it hasn't started yet. Tells everyone, go home. There's not going to be any bloodshed tonight. I'll go talk to the governor tomorrow. He and Mr. Nicholas, of course, Mayor Williams goes. They talk to the governor and he says, tell you what I'll do. Some urging, I'll pay you for the gunpowder. You know, and gets us by that. But by June 8th, the governor decides, you know what? If there's armed mobs forming in town against me, I don't like that, I'm leaving. Middle of the night, Lord Dunmore sends his family to a ship, sends them back to England, he leaves. Remember, we haven't had a lower house for almost, well, a little over a year. The problem is, when the governor dissolved our assembly, we hadn't passed the budget yet. What happens when there's no budget? Everything shuts down. We're still arresting people, we're still putting people in the public jail, but we have no way to try them. It's a serious situation, Rick. There are people sitting in that jail that have been sitting there for almost a year. Remember, by British Code of Law, the jail is only holding cells before your trial. If we can't get you to trial within a year, what do? Case dismissed. Sorry, go home. Do we really want to let those accused of crimes free in the street? I'm talking accused murderers, arsonists, horse thieves. Do you really want to let these people free without a trial? We don't know if or when Lord Dunmore's ever coming back. We can't wait anymore. We had to get out of business and declare independence. So on May 15th, we voted on the resolutions for independence. It was a unanimous vote. I immediately started thinking, what is the purpose of government? Gentlemen, if you're in the government, you better learn this. Not protect the people, protect the rights of the people. So as we're forming a new government, we determined we needed to figure out what are the rights of the people. I don't mean rights given to you by the government, I'm talking natural rights. Natural rights, government doesn't give them to you, they can't take away. Who gives you these rights? God does. What did you have to do to get these rights? You had to be born. That's it. I sat down, wrote out what I thought were 18 very good, solid articles. I looked at things like the Magna Carta and the Petition of Right, the English Declaration of Rights. I looked at things like, well, my pocket, well-read common sense, for sure. Mr. Payne has a very great, they've got very good arguments about independence there. I looked at Thomas Paine and his thoughts on natural freedoms. The Baron of Montesquieu has wonderful thoughts on separation of powers. Remember, Lord Dunmore was the chief executive of the colony. He also was the chief justice in the court and the chief legislator. He was the head of the upper house. He served all three branches all at the same time. We want to stop that. I even looked at Mr. Jefferson's little pamphlet. Have you read that? Summary views of the rights of British North Americans. I recommend it. I looked at all these thoughts. I swirled them together. And I come up with my 18 articles. I thought they were perfect until we came to committee. But you know the way our procedures are. We read whatever is proposed, we read it once, we debate it. If it needs to go to committee, we revise it a bit, it goes to committee. They came back with another copy, we read it again, debate it again, if we need to revise it more, it goes back to committee. I think so far you have revised my 18 articles down to, I think it's 15 now. Combined some together, but changed some things. I thought it was perfect the way it was. Hopefully today we can get down to business, get this finished so Mr. Carey can bring it to the assembly as a whole. We can vote on it. Before Mr. Carey comes next, does anyone have any suggestions or anything we need to add to this? Any thoughts?
Colonel Mason,
Please.
for this declaration, I propose the following article to be added to our vote today. Quote, that the freedom of the press is one of the great bulwarks of liberty and can never be restrained but by despotic governments.
Excellent thought. Mr. Lee, with your permission, when Mr. Carey gets us back to session, I'll bring this up and we'll see what we can do with it. Just remember, we've got to get through the first article, though. I get through that first. Thank you, Joe.
Good evening, gentlemen. I trust your supper went well. Colonel Mason, good to see you again.
Hopefully we get through this tonight.
God willing. Gentlemen, before I call this committee back into session, I want to remind you, not that I expect you would get off the task at hand. There's a reason why I was put in
chair of this committee, and it's to keep my firm hand upon the tiller. My first effort in that is going to be reminding you yet again of the importance of the duty that has been put before you. Each and every one of you is taking part in a piece of business that has been the greatest leap forward in legislative government since Moses descended Mount Sinai with God's laws in his hands. I do not speak in hyperbole, gentlemen. I say that literally. When God commanded Moses to disperse his laws to the people, what did he say? He said, I will have each of the tribes select someone to represent them. You shall take the laws to them, they shall take the laws to their people. That is the very genesis, pardon the expression, of representative government. Now, yes, I realize that there are many nations in this world, well, not many, the Dutch, for example. They have enumerated the rights of their people. The government has said these are the things we've decided that the people keep in regard to their rights. The government made that decision. The government came first. The government acknowledged it. Therefore, the government could remove it at any time they so choose. We are doing something a bit different. We are beginning with the rights of the people. You have been elected by your as representatives of each of your counties to come and speak for them. And we don't even have a government yet. They have given you the trust that you will identify those God-given rights, those rights that are natural to every free-born person in Virginia. And once we have established that Declaration of Rights, we will build our government upon it. It is exceedingly important that we stay on the task at hand. And I have no trouble drawing in the reins as tightly as we need to. Some of you need a little more bit. Some need a little less. But either way, we will have this business done. I want to have a full declaration available for the Committee of the Whole tomorrow. And if we do that, by heaven, I believe God truly does love me. So, that being said, we still have to work upon the first article. Colonel Mason, you are the author of said article, and all the others as well. If you would put that before us, please.
Very well, sir. Gentlemen, Article number 1, as I wrote it, reads that all men are born equally free and independent, and have certain inherent natural rights, of which they cannot by any compact deprive or divest their posterity, among which are the enjoyment of life and liberty, with the means of acquiring and possessing property, and pursuing and obtaining happiness and safety.
Very well, we have that before us. We will open up the debate.
Colonel Mason,
The chair recognizes Mr. Nichols.
is our first action as a new government to seize our neighbor's property and to indebt our new nation? There is not enough money in all Virginia to compensate its citizens for slaves that you've declared free with these words.
But did we not agree with the pamphlet Common Sense? For all men by birth originally equal, no one by birth could have the right to set up his own family, perpetual preference to all others forever.
That speaks to the king and not our circumstances here. Mr. Treasurer is correct. I, as many of you, abhor the notion of slavery, but regardless of our philosophical opinions, slaves are at this moment private property. Shall our new government's first act be to violate that right? Is that no different than the king seizing houses and goods from the people of Boston?
Colonel Carey, if I may.
Colonel Mason?
Gentlemen, I know many of you have heard me say many, many times that if you are a slave owner, you were born a petty tyrant. I include myself in that. I own over 100 myself. You must bear in mind, gentlemen, we did not start slavery, nor did our fathers or our grandfathers. We were born into this just like the slaves were. We don't know how to get out from under it. It's very similar to holding a wolf by the tail. You're kind of afraid to let go. Now I know once we free all the slaves, it's going to ruin our economy. But I think, perhaps, Mr. Gary, we need to take the bull by the horns and get it done now.
Colonel Mason, I do not say this to upbraid you in any way, but I don't believe that I realize I do not ordinarily voice an opinion in the middle of a debate. It's not my place as the chair, but this time I think I need to say something. Colonel Mason, it is not a matter of philosophy right now. There's a great many of you that understand very plainly the business of slavery is becoming more and more expensive. Now, how many of you, I know you are, I know Colonel Washington, your neighbor and my friend, many of you in this very chamber are changing over your crops right now to get away from what? Tobacco. Why? Because it's becoming more and more expensive due to the enormous labor involved in bringing those crops to bear. The simple fact of it is this: slavery, whether you are for it or against it or find yourself a middle ground more to your liking, it is becoming inefficient. And it is withering on the vine as we speak. Now, in my view, I see no reason to take all the efforts we are going through right now. Heaven knows we've already committed treason in the eyes of the king through our resolves to propose independence of the Congress. You and I would both end up on a very short rope very quickly. Or anybody in this room, as a matter of fact. Do we wish to chuck all of that away because we are attending to a matter that will solve itself in 3 or 4 generations? Slavery will die on the vine if we let it. And I realize that for some of you this is an exceedingly important piece of business. I, for one, am not willing to chuck everything we are doing right now for something that we will not have any argument with in 30 years. That is just my opinion.
I must bow to the majority.
Colonel Carey, if I may?
Yes, please, Mr. Pendleton.
May I suggest we add the following into the draft? I quote, "All men are by nature equally free and independent when they enter into a state of society." Close quote. Thus, I'm clearly stating the fact without violating the right of private property. When the day comes that slavery ends, Negroes would naturally enter into society, thereby enjoying the same rights. Would this suffice?
That would seem to be a good compromise in the business. Very well. I believe that is a very excellent idea, Mr. Pendleton. Let us do this. I'm going to call an end to this debate right now. All in favor of adding the addendum, let's call it, from Mr. Pendleton to the first article as it is otherwise written. All in favor of it signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Aye. Well, in the opinion of the chair, the ayes have carried, and we will have to the... That is why I'm the chair, friends. It does carry. We will have it sent to the clerk, and he will make the small adjustment to your first article. Very well. Oh, someone was speaking on...
Colonel Carey.
Yes.
That was Mr. Lee.
Yes. Where's Mr.? Oh, yeah, Colonel Lee. You stand, yes.
Proposed, Section 12, Thomas Ludlow Lee, that the freedom of the press is one of the bulwarks of liberty and can never be restrained but by despotic government.
I want to officially and from my own very personal heart thank you for such a brief, to the point article. Is there anybody in this room that can argue with Mr. Pendleton's article for a freedom of the press the way he said it? By heaven, that makes me happy. Is there anyone here? Well, no. Does anyone wish to open debate? Good. I will put it forward. All in favor of Mr. Pendleton's article upon the freedom of press as he has penned it? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? By heaven, it carries in the opinion of the chair. Thank heavens. Yesterday, we've been wrangling over that for about 2 hours. Good. What do we have next, Mr.
The very last article, sir.
The last article. That would be the 16th, as we renumbered.
Indeed, as well. Now it is the 16th, yes.
Yes.
Gentlemen, Article 18, as I wrote it, that religion or the duty which we owe to our Creator and the manner of discharging it can be directed only by reason and conviction, not by force or violence, and therefore that all men should enjoy the fullest toleration in the exercise of religion, according to the dictates of conscience, unpunished and unrestrained by the magistrate, unless under color of religion any man disturb the peace, the happiness, or safety of society, and that it is the mutual duty of all to practice Christian forbearance, love, and charity towards each other.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Madison.
toleration, Mr. Mason, implies that religious exercise is of your privilege. It can be granted or revoked at the pleasure of the state. I have letters, as do many others, who state toleration has not worked, especially when it comes to dissenters.
Colonel Carey,
Mr. Commissioner.
Mr. Madison, I know you were just a young buck in this assembly. But, sir, tolerance has always been the watchword in Virginia. We've had, of course, our established state church, Church of England. We've had Presbyterians, Lutherans. We've had Quakers in the county since 1733. We've got numerous forms of Baptists, both regular and separatists.
Heaven help us.
We even have those branches up at Fredericksburg, the Catholics, which we don't talk about. I ask you, Mr. Madison, if tolerance is not sufficient, what is it that you suggest?
That religion or duty we owe to our Creator and the manner of discharging it being under the direction of reason and conviction only, not of violence or compulsion. All men are equally entitled to a full and free exercise of it according to the dictates of conscience, and therefore that no man or class of men ought, on account of religion, to be invested with peculiar emoluments or privileges, nor subjected to any penalties or disabilities.
This sounds, sir, like you want to disestablish the Anglican Church.
That is my concern.
Perhaps we should. Dissenters have always been held down by the established church. Isn't that right, Colonel Carey? Have you not tried some Baptist in your time?
Who has?
Now see here. I am the chair of this committee, and this is beneath even you young fellows that don't understand exactly what the procedures ought to be in these matters. I will not be lectured by an unlicked cub and be called a bigot by you or anyone else in this chamber. If you do not like the laws regarding disturbing the peace, preaching without licenses, or how we enforce those laws, I would recommend you put your young minds to the efforts of concluding this business of our declaration, then moving along with us to forming our Constitution, so we might make laws concerning that. If you find yourselves elected to said legislature, I would recommend you act vigorously to change the law rather than criticize those who must enforce it when you have no experience whatsoever.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, forgive me, I go quite warm. Yes.
I got a solution, maybe. I move that we table this discussion. I'd be pleased to work with Mr. Madison on a compromise on this proposal, but shall we agree that we move towards freedom, not toleration?
Oh. That is well. Mr. Pendleton, good. It was my hope we would have this done tonight before we left here, but it looks like tomorrow the Committee of the Whole will not receive our document. However, I think adjournment at this point is a good idea. We ought to do it. I will adjourn this committee. But before we do, I'd like you experienced members of the legislature to take some of these younger, less experienced gentlemen under your wings for the evening. Discuss with them the proprieties of committee meetings and perhaps some of the detail of perhaps acting in the legislature someday if their neighbors still find them competent. That said, this committee stands adjourned. We will meet here tomorrow morning at 8:30 promptly, and we will continue the business we have started. With any luck and God's blessings, we will have this done, so at least maybe by the end of the week, we can see the Committee of the Whole. Colonel Mason, if you would please join me, I am going to go over to South Halls because I need something to drink.
You're buying the first bowl. Very well.